Hello, and you're very welcome to episode 298 of Treaty Talk. Tom Clancy and Matt O'Callaghan of the Weekly Observer and Bale Star newspapers were here to discuss everything Gaelic games around Limerick as the sun is shining in this September. So we've plenty to get to over the next hour or so. So do stay tuned for all the Camogie, ladies football, men's football, and indeed hurling chat in the next 60 to 70 minutes.
The impression of the game you get out of it, what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tommaso Shea, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word court today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar in the back of it and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the right brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
Yes, so you're very welcome along to episode 298, as I said there at the beginning. Matt, how's all with yourself?
Oh, very good, very good. Tom, I'm getting around to a lot of matches, which is great, and lots of GA things on, and that's happy days,
The way we love it, yeah. If we could get a third or fourth day to the weekend, Matt, I think we'd be flying it, wouldn't we? There's a lot on.
They're there if we were prepared to take them on, but like, this weekend is crammed again, and like I thought we had gone there before, and I thought it wasn't going to happen again, where we had the 6 senior football games on a Thursday night, with the 6 senior hurling games now on a Sunday. Now, all right, you can say that the different groups are staggered and that people will get a chance to see at least possibly 2 of them, but it's not an ideal situation, Tom. We have 6 senior hurling championship matches, and 3 of them are essentially dead rubbers, and they could have been staggered over the weekend. And I just don't get it, I'm afraid. Like we were able to stagger the Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship. The 6th round, for instance, Bruff and the Piershick are playing on Thursday night. And we've done Rowan, Garris-Ballan and Blackrock and Granny-Ballingarry on Saturday. And on Sunday we have Effin and Newcastle West. So it can be done.
Yeah. What I'd say as well, just to kind of something we didn't mention before, is that the paying customer, as it were, the spectator that has bought a season ticket, at times, certain weekends, it's fine. Other weekends, they're not getting what I would see as value out of it, because, the best interest in that for that particular person, they might only get to one senior game, maybe a Premier Intermediate game. But, some people would love to see the Cut and Trust the Senior Championship as much as possible. They might like to watch 2, 3, 4 games on a weekend. And that avenue, you might squeeze into this time. Now, there is a double header in fairness, but you might squeeze into this time around, but you certainly won't get your 3 and 4, and as I say, or maybe your money's worth if that's the way you're inclined,
No. Plus, I get it, that the evenings are closing in. I get the cost of lights, and I get the limited number of venues that we have with lights.
Yeah.
I get all that aspect of it, but I think for the paying customer, I think they're being shortchanged slightly. And particularly the season ticket holders who put their money up front.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. Well, look, we'll see how it goes into the future, but very, very busy weekend as far as I'm aware in hurling. I think
but Tom, you see, there's another aspect to this. There's the uncertainty about where games are on.
Yeah.
Like we say, take for instance the Piershick and Bruff. Bruff and the Piershick, originally fixed for 2:00 on Saturday, changed to 6:00 in Fenimore, now changed again to 7:30 in McNeville Park.
Right.
Now that might be the worst case scenario, but there are other changes there.
Yeah.
I can't figure out why that we cannot get a definitive fixture list. Like for us trying to preview games, and you were just talking off air like that anything we say about venues has to be taken with a health warning.
Yeah. No, we do our
We
best. I
can't
suppose.
stand over them. We're only speaking about the venues as they are as of when we're speaking.
Yeah, well, we're doing our best, I suppose, to promote these games and encourage people to go, because you and I really enjoy going to these games, and I would think there's plenty more like us around the county who'd like to get to these games, but we don't want to send anyone to Fedamore when they should be in Bruff, for example, or McNeville Park, as it were, or whatever, and et cetera, et cetera. We don't want to do that, but as you said there is a bit of a warning with when we're calling out venues here at the time of recording, and the time maybe people listen to this. Check in with clubs or check in with Limerick GA's website.
I get it also that something can crop up with a venue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I get about the availability of venues. You see, the thing is, most clubs are still involved in competitions. And with the evenings closing in, their time for training and preparing their own teams is obviously contracting as well. The window for doing it. So a lot of the training is pushed towards the weekend, you know. But look, I'm thinking of Johnny Public out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'd we'll see how it plays out. At the moment, there's been a couple of subtle changes maybe from last weekend. I know the senior hurling championship fixtures were also flipped, and there was the senior B was first, but now it's actually second. Or sorry, it was second, and now it's actually first. I'm confusing myself. Just as well to mention, Matt, there is a serious volume of games on this weekend. There's games, as far as I'm aware, in Senior A, Senior B, Premier Intermediate, Junior A, Premier Junior, the grade above it, Junior B, and with the Junior C semi-final. So every single grade I can see has some form of game, most of them a full program. So it's, forgetting the negative, it's great to see that we have literally more or less every club in the county is going to be fielding one, if not two teams in a team. It's great to see as well.
It's great to see it, but and we're also coming at the stage of the competition where every game is going to mean that somebody is eliminated.
Yeah, it's the last. It's the end of the road for a load of teams this weekend, I'd imagine. Some of them don't know it yet, but it's coming to the end. Before we come to the hurling in its totality and looking at the games across the grades, the football, Matt, last week, I think we should go there first. The Senior Football Championship, the fifth round was concluded, and we now know who's in and who's out in terms of knockout football, and we know who the relegation pairing is. And I suppose starting with the county champions, Newcastle West, they rubber stamped their direct route to the semi-finals, as they've done more often than not. Maybe in the last 6 or 7 years, they eased beyond Ballysteen, 1-11 to 1-3, I think it was in the end. Probably no surprise that Newcastle West have one bump in the road along the way, which was a surprise, a draw with Ula, but they've, as we've often said, they've maybe found themselves in third gear, and they've won the group again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a fair summary of it, Tom. It was 1-11 to 1-3. It was 1-11 to a goal after 57 minutes. Yeah. And I have to say I was disappointed with the Newcastle West performance. It wasn't, and I think they'd be first to admit it themselves. It was not the type of performance that would retain the county title.
Right.
But we've said it and we've seen it, and it is a matter of fact that in the group stages over the last number of years since they came to the top, Newcastle West in most group games just do enough to get by.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what they did. Now they went into a healthy lead, you know, and they sort of eased off at that stage to a certain degree, possibly not deliberately, but psychologically. They I won't say they switched off, but they probably switched down a gear or two and just saw out the game, saw out the victory. No, Mike Quilligan made two absolutely stunning saves in a 5-minute spell. One was from a penalty, and the other was from open play. And you know, there was a narrative going around the ground that had the goals gone in, that it would be a different game. I find it very hard to subscribe to it for the simple reason that I felt that there was another gear or two in Newcastle West. Had the goals gone in, you would see him lifting that game all over the field, you know. Now, Ballysteen, at least they created the goals, which is a worry for Ballylanders coming forward in and I don't want to preempt the relegation playoff at this point. But they certainly created goals. And on another evening, they may have taken them. But Mike Quilligan also made a fantastic save in injury time at the end. But Ballysteen, they have some work to do if they're to preserve their status, because Ballylanders, as we know, as I well know, are dab hands at winning relegation playoffs.
Yeah, looking for 3-0.
They have won 2 of them in the last 2 years, and if my memory serves me correct, they've won 3 of them in the last 10.
Right. Okay.
So they don't have any. They don't have fears about relegation playoffs, and but look, it is what it is. Newcastle West are through as winners of the group, where they'll join Mungret St. Paul's, who for a long time looked as if they may suffer a first defeat of the campaign to St. Kieran's.
Yeah.
And what a story that would have been, because it would have meant that at the end of the day, St. Kieran's would have leapfrogged them into the quarterfinal spot.
Yeah.
But St. Kieran's are out. This after a very, very promising start, in which they had 2 straight wins over Ballylanders and Monaleen, and everything seemed to be going swimmingly well for them. They lost John Hayes, a very important player, and then they lost to the Piercy, at which stage trouble was looming, especially with the remaining 2 games that they had against the Dare and Mungret St. Paul's. But for the second year running, St. Kieran's have landed in no man's land in the championship. They're neither up nor down. They're out,
Yeah. I was actually at the Napirsig in the Dare game, which was in Clorina. I must commend Napirsig because they got an awful hammering in their first game in this championship by Mungret. And they were second in the second round. They lost out to Ballylanders by a point.
Ballylanders by a point.
Yeah, and again, a game that was a game now that they felt maybe that they could have snuck a win out of, Last late on, Ballylanders kicked the last 3 points. But what a recovery, Matt, since then. Two wins and a draw to come out of the group, and a draw with a Dare when they were 7 points to 2 down at half time. They did not play well in the first half. They didn't look threatening. Hugh Burke was really running amok, as it were. I think he hit 4 points in the first half, 3 from play. Looked a real danger. And then out of nowhere, I think Evan Egan raced through the Adair midfield. Well, wasn't the midfield. He raced through the Adair cover, got a goal. And from then on, there was a bit of belief in the Napirsig team. But Napirsig conceded the next 3 points, didn't score. It was 1-2 to 10 points. But they finished then with was it 5 unanswered themselves to draw it. That's against a team like Adair, a very seasoned outfit. There's going to be huge confidence from Micheál Lynch's side to do that. And obviously at the time they didn't need the result ultimately, but at the time they didn't know that. They were going gun-ho to try and get that point or get the win that was needed, So I tip my hat to them,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I saw him in the game against Ballylanders. You were with me at that, I think, Tom.
I was, yeah.
And I think we concluded at this stage, on that day, that evening, that in hospital, that they were going to be, that they were going to be in trouble. But it has been a great revival, and the revival has been such now that having been written off after 2 rounds, that after picking up 2 wins and a draw, which is very, very creditable. And they have what you could almost call a free shot against Napirsig or against Father Casey's in the quarter-final.
Yeah. And I actually think Father Casey's beat Galtee Gales to come second, and as people may know, second v third across the groups, which I like as the format. The thing here that for Napirsig, they lost out heavily to Father Casey's last season. I think maybe, what was it, about 12 or 13 points in the exact corresponding fixture. It's the ideal fixture for Napirsig to get again. The team that knocked you out last year, heavily. It's a bit, as you say, a free shot. I think Napirsig will relish this one, and as we just said there, they've come into a small bit of form, 2 wins and a draw. I think they'll give Father Casey's a couple of problems. Now, I ultimately think at this time, I think Father Casey's will probably still go through, but I think Napirsig, the experience of the last few years coming out of intermediate, the Munster run as well, getting to the quarterfinal last year and recovering this year. They've a steeliness about them now, maybe that that it's getting stronger and stronger. So I'm looking forward to that one when it comes around in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's actually been played on the 1st of October on a Tuesday night at 8 o'clock in Midnight Park.
Right, I hadn't seen that. Yeah. Oh, indeed. Yeah, that's the 1st of October. Okay, so that's where it's set for. The other quarterfinal, because Galtee Gales were defeated by Father Casey's. Just to mention that their game briefly now, Matt. 2 early goals from Father Casey's. This game played in the Toos campus in Moylish. 2 early goals from Father Casey's. They didn't look back, and
no, it's still the deal. And there's a growing belief. There's a growing belief in Father Casey's. I think that there might be something here happening this year, and I think there's a growing belief among the football fraternity in Limerick that Father Casey's are very strong contenders, and to look out for Father Casey's this year.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that they may have Cormac Roach back for some part of the championship, which would be, I'm hearing it anyway, which would be a big asset to him, huge asset to him, a player of that caliber coming back. And look, we've been saying it for years, and like we might be premature. And Piercy could very well make us eat our words. With all the success, like I was at the county Premier Minor football final there about 3 weeks ago when they played Mungret St. Paul's and won it. It was their 9th Premier title in 13 years.
Yeah. Was on the receiving end of one of them myself. Yeah.
Yeah, but they have been unable to transition those players to senior or translate minor success into senior success. So to sort of make you wonder, like, where is the problem? Where is it falling down? And I'm always of the belief that, someday they will explode onto the scene. And maybe I've predicted it a couple of times, but I've seen Father Casey's this year. I saw him winning the league. I thought there was something about him. And that evening, Newcastle West were down a good few players. And Father Casey's weren't as badly hit. But there seemed to be something about him this year that, that they certainly will make life difficult for whoever they will meet. And like the winner of Father Casey's and Piercy will play Mungret St. Paul's. Yeah.
And just on that, Matt, right? That's one side of the draw, and the other side will Newcastle West are waiting for the winners of whom I'm trying to think now.
Adair and Galtee Gales.
Galtee Gales. So thankfully, right, and I have no skin in the game here. Thankfully, we will have a different county final pairing.
Yes.
Because Adair and Newcastle West are on the same side of the draw. So at the very least, we will have one new county finalist out of Piercy, Mungret St. Paul's and Father Casey's. And obviously, Galtee Gales will look to upset that on the other side as well. But we were hoping for someone at the start. How many weeks ago? Was it 10 or 12 weeks ago we were talking about someone shake this up? Mungret have done that now. Okay,
I think we were looking to Mungret to shake it up, and they have obliged.
My God, they have, with 5 wins from 5, and I think they kind of changed around their team as well and got the win. So like that bodes well for Mr. O'Hagan and co. That and Mr. Rannan, of course, I guess. They've explored other options as well, and they're trying to build a panel there that is capable of taking out the big boys in the knockout stages. So I think we'll watch Mungret from afar now and see how they go. Just to mention as well, there's probably not an awful lot we can say about this game, but Killarney-Pallaskenry turned in a decent first half showing, well, more than decent, to put them in this winning position. Ula, bit of a fight back. Josh Ryan, I think, had a couple of goals, but ultimately Killarney-Pallaskenry ending their season with a victory. Nice one for them to finish off. They won the first day, but nothing in between, and they I suppose it leaves those involved in football in the club ending the season on a high, because it had been a difficult season with injury and everything else.
It was, and I was speaking to some of them on Sunday, and at no stage did they consider it to be a dead rubber. They wanted to finish it out with a bit of momentum, because we were speculating here last week, if you recall, Tom, that their commitment to the hurling championship, where they have a make or break game, would they be inclined to rest players, this, that, and the other thing? But it didn't happen, right. And they gave it their all, which was which was very, very laudable, and Josh Ryan, as you said, got 2-5, which leads me nicely to the fact that he's the leading scorer in the race for the Golden Boot, and likely strong contender to win it now, I would say.
Yeah, although he can't improve on it now, as we know.
He can't improve on it, but the two immediately behind him, Alan Daly and Daniel Daly of Monleen and Alan Daly of St. Kieran's, can improve either.
Yeah,
so it goes all the way back to Dylan Cronin of Napirshick, who's 9 points behind, and to John Hutton among the St. Paul's, who's 10 points behind.
Okay, so John Hutton has to wait for the semi-final. Dylan Cronin obviously can if he has a stormer against Father Casey's, he could find himself right up at the top of that chart. So
Dylan Cronin is right up in the charts because he's having stormers.
Yeah. No, he didn't take the last three. I think the other day it was Evan Egan who actually tied up the game in Clonard. Now the one team we haven't mentioned Monleen now. We'll come to that in a second, Matt. The one team at the business end, as it were, we haven't mentioned too much there, is Adair. Now, a little bit of a concern, Matt. They were never in the last 5-6 seasons or even longer that they're at the top, near the top. They were never really ones to relinquish leads in group games. But as I said to you, they were 5 points up on 2 separate occasions against the Piercing, and they let that slip. Not their finest group campaign ever, because obviously they lost to Munger earlier in it as well. And just showing a few cracks, but nothing they can't fix maybe before the quarterfinal with Celtic Gaels.
I would agree with you totally. I would agree with you totally. I have no worries at all about Adair, because there's a bit of the Newcastle West about Adair in the group stages that they do enough to get over the line, but they'll come all guns blazing now for Celtic Gaels, because they will want to first of all win the football match and have huge momentum going into that semi-final, because after losing to Newcastle West for the last 3 years, I think, isn't it?
Yeah,
in the final, they will want to dislodge them. They owe one to Newcastle. They owe one to Newcastle West, but they need to improve on their performances in the group stages. But I think they have the capacity to do it.
They do, yeah. And now Davy Lyons went off with an injury early on, and I think Paul Maher was also carrying a bit of a knock. So they hope, obviously, in the interim, that they can clear those up. That would be the concern, maybe, for me, that they've a couple of knocks here and there. And
Robbie Burke is back, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's more than back. Yeah, he was kicking points from everywhere. He was everywhere but the car park, really. But that's what an asset to have, and it's someone who I would say, if he played every minute, would be right at the top of that scoring chart. But obviously has had a slow burner.
Are you mixing him up now with Hugh?
Oh, sorry, I said you. Sorry, Robbie. Robbie didn't line out at the weekend from memory. Sorry, I'm mixing the two of them up here. You who was kicking the scores. Apologies.
But Robbie's due back as well, anyway.
Yeah. No, they've he was there, all right, watching on. But they do have a fair depth of talent. It's just that for whatever reason on Saturday they weren't kicking the scores. They did have the chances, just couldn't. If they had maybe got 7 points up, 6-7 points up, they mightn't have looked back. But look, they probably knew they were through as well, so that can sometimes take the edge off as well. Excuse me. The relegation battle, Matt.
Sure, look, nobody likes being involved in it. As I said, it came down to it in the group, like that whoever won between Ballylanders and Monleen was going to be safe. If it had been a draw, Ballylanders were safe, but Monleen just found that one result, that has taken them to safety. And I suppose, in a way, it is. Is it a flaw in the format that you win one football match and you're safe? I understand it's to be addressed next year, whereby there'll be semi-finals and a final for the relegation, that the two bottom teams would be involved, and that would eliminate the situation that we had of a dead rubber between Kildare, Palace, Kenry, and no matter what it is, what sport it is, what grade it is at, people, when there's groups involved, they want to see jeopardy right until the end.
Yeah.
And they want to see a level of jeopardy. So, like, dead rubbers suit nobody, really.
Yeah.
at the back of their heads, but full credit, I have to say, to Kildare, Palestine and Ula, they gave it their all.
Yeah, they did.
They
And
gave it their all.
even when Ula were behind at halftime, they fought back and tried to obviously draw or win the match. Like, so they didn't fire the towel in either.
Yeah.
Okay, look, we'll
But
come.
I'm sorry, I'm not getting away from Ballylanders and Monaleen there. They got a goal in each half, and Monaleen, and that proved to be the difference. Now, Danny Froon did not line out, but he came on at half time. Now, I'd been speaking to him earlier in the day at a function in Glenroe, and he certainly wasn't fit, nor he hadn't any intention of playing at that stage. So he was a huge loss to Ballylanders, because we know the type of form that he has shown this year, which you saw the game with Napiershik, and the contribution he made that night was simply phenomenal,
Yeah. No, for years he's been like that. Yeah.
Incredible. But hopefully Danny will have put his worries behind him. Now that game is fixed. That relegation playoff is fixed for the 29th of September, which is a Saturday, I think.
29th is a Sunday, Matt. Sunday week.
Sunday.
Yeah.
Sunday. It's fixed for Ballygran.
Okay. Well, there'll be tension in the air in Ballygran, I think, for that one. It's fair to say.
Well, it'll be squeaky bum time, There's no doubt at all about that,
Yeah. No, the battle of the Bally's, Ballysteen and Ballylanders. Yeah. Look, we'll look at that. I'll look at that in more detail, I think, next week. And maybe in where we see that won or lost for either team, but senior status very much on the line in Ballygran on the 29th. Okay, Matt, I'm conscious we've, as I said, loads to cover across the grades and across the codes. We look now just to mention the teams in the other football competitions. The intermediate grade, Drumbrodford successfully negotiated their way to winning Group 1, as did Rathkeale in Group 2. So those two sides directly into semi-finals. The quarter-final pairings sees Clahan facing Newcastle West second team, while Gerald Griffins will face Galbally. So maybe no great shocks there. And we must compliment Newcastle West as well for continuing their upward trend, having come up from, I think, Junior A to Premier Junior, and now going into the knockout stages of the intermediate grade. They're certainly on a crest of a wave with what is their second team. And Glyn will face Castleman in the relegation in that one. The Premier Junior grade sees Kappa and Mona Gay winning their group, so they're waiting in the wings in the semi-finals. Ate and Father Casey's will meet in the local derby in one quarter-final, while Fina will face Croom. Fina Committee will face Croom in the other one. Cappamore and Mungret St. Paul second team will contest the relegation final. And finally, on the football, it's the male football, I should say, Ballylanders and Fedamore have progressed to the Junior A semi-finals, while Camogie Rovers will face Monaleen, and Hospital Herbertstown will face Ahan in the quarterfinals in that fourth-tier action. So we'll come to those as they get edge towards their business in the match.
Before we go away from that, and I don't want to be parochial, but credit Ballylanders, they only came up from Junior B last year, and it's their second squad, which is, maybe some of them should be in the first squad. I don't know. But what's interesting here in this one is that in one group, Banog pulled out, and in the other group, Adair finished bottom after giving, it was 3 walkovers.
I don't think they played too many games anyway. Yeah.
So who gets relegated?
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Matt. So
I would imagine it's Banog.
Yeah, they didn't field at all. Yeah. But look, there's a possibility that maybe Adair want to go back down a grade, but we shall see. We'll see what way that's sorted. It's doesn't look like the one we started on the pitch anyway. So Banog and Adair not probably maybe what the depth of players available to them to really give that grade their full crack this year.
Just as we're talking about that now, the South Junior B football final has been finished, in that Brewery have beaten Galtee Gales in the final. The East was finished at the weekend when Ula's second team beat Nacan in the final.
Right.
So we're awaiting, I know Ballinacurra Gales are in the city final. I'm not sure against who. And in the West final, I think it's Knockaderry and St. Kieran's.
Okay, so we'll just wait for the victors of those. And then am I right in saying is it straight semi-finals or quarterfinals of Junior B?
Quarterfinals.
Yeah, so
but there's a rota there. We'll say East play South this year and East play West next year. And East, no, don't ask me before you go any further. Which is which?
Yeah. Well, certainly when I won the City Junior B, it was City versus South that year, but obviously a rotational basis. It could be back on that one again.
Yeah.
Just had to get it in there, and that we won that many years ago now at this stage. Okay,
But that year you won. But that year you won in Knockadurry.
we won it all. We won it all, Matt. Yeah, from
Mhm.
league to championship, and plenty of draws in between as well. Now, mind, but no one could get the better of us. But yeah, City Junior B Championship, County, and then the Munster as well. So a proud few months, I think.
I remember that year, Tom. You had about 10 get out of jail cards.
Yeah. And the bizarre thing was, in terms of kicking, equalising scores and winning scores, it was nearly a different person every time, and that's the sign of a good team, I think. When there's
What one did you equalise?
City final, and after that, then sure, Jesus, I might as well have stayed at home after that. But
Did you get dropped after that?
No, well, I dropped myself for being not good enough. So anyway, right. Enough of tales of yesteryear. We're just going to look now to hurling, the senior hurling championship.
Should we just before we go on to hurling, should we talk about the ladies' football?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, well, that's fine. I was maybe going to come to it later, but I think now, while we're on the big ball, we should stay there. It's a fair point, Matt.
It's a huge weekend in the ladies' football, in the semi-final weekend.
Yeah.
Now, like the picture, there was the senior semi-finals were published last week, and I think I gave them out last week on this show, and then they were to be St. Ailbe's and Mona Gay, who meet in one semi-final, which is a repeat of the final of the last 2 years. And we were just saying about we'll have a new finalist as well. And that game was fixed for Clarina at 1 o'clock on Sunday. It's now gone back to 12:30. And right. I think that's fairly written in stone. And that's going to be a hugely interesting game, because like, the semi-finals are unusual in that the team that won one of the groups, Ula, got knocked out in the quarter-final by Old Mill. So you have St. Ailbe's, who finished the group with full points, and you have Monaghay, who came second in their group with 4 points. Now, we've seen what there's no doubt whatsoever, Tom, Monaghay have had the upper hand over the last couple of years. It's going to be very, very interesting, because St. Ailbe's are going to be fired, to end that hoodoo once and for all. So that's going to be a very, very interesting game. Now, the other semi-final, which was originally fixed for 1 o'clock in Mungret between Ballylanders and Old Mill, is now going ahead at 12 noon. 12 noon. Again, I would say that's written in stone. And like, we just got a little snapshot of what this game might be like in the third round of the group stage. Ballylanders beat Old Mill 1-9 to 1-8 by a single point in Old Mill. Now, full credit to Old Mill. They suffered 3 defeats. I've mentioned this before. They suffered 3 defeats in the group stage. They ended the group stage as pointless. But they suffered 2 defeats by a single point. But when it came to the knockout stage, they went to Ula and defeated Ula, who had finished top of the group.
Yeah.
So that means that they are a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, now, I've seen Ballylanders a couple of times here, and Ballylanders are measurably and demonstrably improving from game to game. They were relegated in the league. They had a very poor start to the championship. Then it started coming right. They beat Galtee Gales, they beat Old Mill, and they had a huge win over Fiohanna Castlemahan in the quarter-final. So that's going to be a very, very interesting game. I'd say you have 2 semi-finals, that are desperate hard to call. Desperate hard to call. It would be a brave man that will say on that by 3 o'clock on Sunday, such and such a one will be playing each other in the county final. I, for one, will not put my neck in the block, no matter how many times you ask me, Tom. So don't even try from the start. But we'll move on then to the intermediate semi-finals, and as I said, there were only 7 teams in the intermediate championship, and as we all know, the senior intermediate championships were nothing more than seeding processes, for the knockout stages. So that meant that there was a situation with 4 in one group, 3 in the other. So what happened was the group that had 4, the winner of that group went straight through to the semi-finals. And
namely Knockany.
the other 3 played off in quarterfinals. Now that team was Knockany, and they are going to play Maru who like Old Mill are having a very, very difficult season, and they will be. The only win they got was in the quarterfinal, actually.
Timing, Matt. Timing.
Yeah, timing. It's all about timing. And whilst Knockany have won all their 3 matches, some of them convincingly, and this is a repeat of last year's semi-final. And Knockany will be treading very warily in this one because they were hot favourites in last year's semi-final and they lost it to Maru Boher, who subsequently went on to the county final and lost by a single point to Galtee Gales. So that's one to look out for. The other semi-final is between Mungret St. Paul's and Father Casey's. Now, Father Casey's are an emerging force at this level, but Mungret St. Paul's, they've been through it all in the past, senior level and intermediate level, but they're finding it difficult to get out of intermediate level. Themselves and Galtee Gales through last year, extra time couldn't be played because of the awful inclement weather. So it went to a replay and Galtee Gales just got by. So
after extra time, I think, as well, wasn't it?
After extra time, that's going to be a very, very interesting. It's very, very interesting, and of course, as we mentioned at the outset of the program, there's a lot of people, a lot of clubs in the ladies' football, and their season is ending on Sunday.
Yeah, and obviously they hope it's not them, but they don't know it. But as you say, 50% of those teams, they're done and dusted by Sunday.
Yeah.
Like it's
But also on Sunday, Tom, it's an action-packed Sunday. There are the B semi-finals, the senior B semi-finals, and in that we'd have Galtee Gales, who were last year's intermediate champions and the previous year's junior champions, playing Drumculloher Broadford, who were intermediate champions in 20 and 21. So how did that happen? It happened because of COVID.
No promotion, yeah.
So that's very, very interesting. Now, Gales have had, the Gales who fielded an adult team for the first time in 2015, like is one of the stories of the championship. And they started off with a win over Old Mill, but they haven't won since. But Drumculloher haven't won, Broadford haven't won at all. So that will be an interesting clash. And the other semi-final is an opportunity for Ula, who won their group, to atone for losing in the quarter-final when they take on Fiona Castlemahan in the other semi-final. So, look, it's a feast, it's a bonanza of ladies football at the weekend with an awful lot of things being decided, Tom.
Yeah. No, the pressure coming on everyone now. Season's very much on the line for all of those clubs. So some of them will be jovial come Sunday evening, and other ones will be in the depths of despair, I think it's fair to say. Okay, let's just turn now to
and everything,
no contract renewals offered for many, I'd say, come Sunday. Senior Hurling Championship, Matt. I almost broke into that, but we came to the ladies football first. So the Senior Hurling Championship last weekend had the one outstanding game that was remaining to bring everyone up to 4 games played. It was Patrick Swell against Ahan, and unfortunately, and I say that with the greatest respect, it ended any hope in this group of a bit of jeopardy in the final round, because as we maybe predicted, Patrick Swell might get the better of Ahan, and indeed they did, and it ends it all. So Patrick Swell, coming from 7 down to win by 2, they get the better of Ahan, and as we know now, the group will end with Doon first, Na Piarsaigh second, Patrick Swell or Kilmallock will finish 3rd or 4th, and even then we know that does not matter. Ahan missing out again, finishing 5th, and Mungret St. Paul's relegated back down, having finished 6th in this group. We're disappointed with that because it means the 3 games this weekend are not even worth previewing at this point. But Patrick Swell, in fairness to them, Matt, they did not panic on the night in Clahan. It was last Friday evening. They were missing Aaron Gillan, and I say that again, they did not panic. They were 7 down, used the wind well in the second half, choked the middle out of out of a hand, got the scores, and got the job done. So credit
But
to them.
if you look, if you know, if you look at the team sheet, why are you surprised that they didn't choke it? Because there's huge experience there and there's huge talent. This is what I've been saying about the day hurlers this year. I've seen them a couple of times and I could not reconcile what was in the team sheet and what was happening on the pitch.
Yeah.
That was 2 and 2 that only made 3,
Yeah. Patrick Swell are the same. Patrick Swell had lost their first 2. Now they've slowly started, the wheel started to turn.
Started, and they have a small bit of a history, Tom, of coming from nowhere. And
go on.
Would you write it off this year? You saw them at first hand?
Well, I do. I put it out there now that I did say at the start that they would win the championship. Now I didn't want to be saying that after they lost the first 2 games and didn't look $1 million. But in fairness to them, the games I've seen, I think I've seen them twice or 3 times against Doon. They lost by 6 points. Didn't feel like a 6-point defeat. They were a lot closer than that. The goals for Doon really told the difference on the scoreboard, and obviously with the result. The other day, quite efficient at times, a bit of a silly goal to give away by Jason Gallan at the start, a pair of his standard spilling a ball into the net. It rarely happens at this level, so we're surprised when it does. But, they dug deep. They got Cian Lynch into it. Dermot Burns is chipping in consistently from play now, and his frees his frees probably are not at the extortionately high standard he set for himself, but there's still a couple of them going over each game. And Patrick Kirby, obviously not one of the intercounty men that we'd often refer to, but he's pulling up some great trees, Matt. He's chipping in with scores. Was it 1-4 the other night?
1-4. And I think
1-5, yeah.
Previous week, was it?
It was 1-4 or 1-5 against Mungers. He was the top scorer in both those games, and a real threat. And suddenly then you had, if Aaron Gallan, I think it's a hand injury, if he's fit and able for the quarterfinals, it'd be a very difficult proposition for whoever comes out of Group 2. And indeed, if they go beyond that, they reached last year's final and didn't perform, I would say, in the final. But yes, we're still there with the Piercing. So, you would be foolish, I think, to rule them out at this point, wouldn't you?
Certainly, when their 16th man is a certain Mr. Carey.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's done it all before. He's seen it all before, and he would be the master of the perfect timing.
Yeah, that's it. No, and the format, we criticize the format, but clubs like Patrick Swell have got to know what do we need to do to get out of this.
And
when do we need to
do it?
Yeah, when do we need to pick up the wins? And obviously they've done it earlier, but they've done it when it's mattered most. Championship was kind of on the line, but they picked up the 4 points. Okay, just to mention the fixtures in this group this weekend, they're all on at 4 p.m. on Sunday. As I said, there's probably no value in previewing them. Patrick Swell will face Kilmallock. That's in McNeville Park. It's also live on TG Car. Doon will face Ahan in Cappamore, I think. Is it? Or has it changed?
Cappamore, yes.
Yeah, and the Piercing and Mungret St. Paul's is in Kilmallock, all at 4 p.m. So, look, as I said, we're not going to get into detail, and that's the senior A, or the Group 1 as it is, I think, officially known. That's that. We know who's in and who's out. Doon and the Piercing's their last competitive outing anyway, before they play someone in the semi-finals. So, Matt, we have yet to see who come out of Group 2. There's 4 teams in a 2-horse race, or in a race for 2 spots. Ballybrown, Monaleen, Kildown, Pallaskenry, and Drummond at Lacka. Now we'll come to Adair and South Liberties, who are in a relegation dogfight in a moment. But looking at this one, Drummond at Lacka.
Tom, before we move on to that, 2 of the clubs have been hit by bereavements this week, and we would like to send our sympathy to the family of Liam Ryan of Drummond at Lacka. He was the local publican there, and he was a native of Effin, of Grand Cray in Effin, and he won a South medal with Effin in 1982. It was a fantastic hurling man, and the father of Tiernan Ryan, who plays with Drummond at Lacka, and the uncle of Garrod O'Leary and Owen O'Leary. So we would like to send our sincere sympathy to Liam's family, and also to Aileen Fitzpatrick and her family on the death of, and the sad death and untimely death of Dave Fitzpatrick, of a stalwart of South Liberties. And it's whatever day the league final was on, the Junior B League final with Granabel and Gary. Dave brought those of us that were in the press area over a bottle of water each. It was typical of the man, thinking of others. Now, Aidan has a he's had a long association with South Liberties, as Aidan has a long association with Limerick ladies footballers, and was a selector on the team that won the All-Ireland in 2018. And we send our deepest sympathy also to Aidan and the Fitzpatrick family at this time.
Yeah, well said, Matt. And I think just to Dave's sons, Jack, Danny, Daver, and their daughter Molly as well, and obviously all the extended family, and the same as well for Liam Ryan's family. Yeah, it's a difficult time, I'm sure, for all concerned, but I'm sure they find solace in the GA communities that they're in, both locally and indeed around the county. So we're keeping them in their thoughts even into the
just
weekend.
puts a small bit of a damper over the weekend that's in it coming up, but
it does. Yeah, look, if we can move on from that as best we can, and I suppose, as we said, maybe the unserious business of sport, as it were, but nevertheless, plenty of people will be interested in Ballybrown and Drummond at Lacca, which can decide one of the places, and Kildime-Pallaskenry and Monaleen, which may indeed decide the other. Now, Ballybrown lead the group, Matt, having won 3 games out of 3 from the start, but then lost out to Adair the last time. So it blows the group wide open. Monaleen can certainly win the group. Kildime-Pallaskenry can win the group. Now, Drummond and Lacca probably can still win the group, but it'll be, I would say, even if they win,
they can win the group.
They can't. Sorry, sorry. They can still come in the top 2 and get into the quarterfinals.
They can come in the top 2.
Yeah. So look, we go with those games.
I just go this way about it. If Ballybrown beat Drummond at Lacca,
that's our
promotion is theirs.
Yeah,
but it comes with a little caveat, like that after 2 fantastic wins in the early rounds, Ballybrown seemed to have gone off the boil. They struggled to beat South Liberties, and they failed to beat Adair.
Well, they were beaten by Adair, yeah.
Beaten by Adair, so they're into some turbulence now. I fancied them from the start to be promoted, and I'm sort of having second thoughts based on what I've seen. And like, if they think that Drummond and Lacca for 1 minute are going to Clahan on Sunday to make up numbers, they're gravely mistaken. Because I was talking to Drummond and Lacca connections immediately after the Monaleen game, and they were absolutely resolved, that they were not laying down arms as far as qualifying in this competition is concerned.
Yeah, and
they were going to go all out, to do their part to get to the knockout stages.
I think
that's going to be a very, very interesting game. And I think, I would say this, Tom, and you're a Ballybrown man, Ballybrown will ignore the threat of Drummond at Lacca at that peril.
Yeah.
No doubt at all about that, in my view. I think Ballybrown will win it, by the way.
Okay. But
they'll win it, if they can recapture some level of form. Now, I understand they have a number of injuries.
Yeah.
You'd be more au fait with that than I would be.
But injuries aside, Matt, they didn't perform in the last 2 games. Those that were on the pitch, they didn't reach the level that they did in the first 2 rounds. So that's the concern: is
that's the point. That's the point that I'm making. They have, their campaign has been hit by turbulence. There's something wrong.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. I think Drummond at Lacca should probably view this psychologically anyway in a much more different light. Now, they were defeated last time themselves by Monaleen, and they could view this as a free hit, because obviously they're new to the senior rank. There's little expectation, and probably outside of their own group in terms of delivering, because
I've been talking to members of the group as the campaign has been gone on, and I mentioned to one of them after the Adair, one of their top players after the Adair game, that now that you've won 2 games, relegation is off the agenda. And he was on the brink of taking the head off me. He said, we never spoke about that, which is fair enough, and talking to him immediately after their connections, immediately after the game with Monaleen, you know, they were immediately focused on Ballybrown. They had complete knowledge of what they had to do. And they know if they win, you know, they'll have the head-to-head on Ballybrown.
They will, yeah, they will.
Depending then on what happens on the other game. And what Kildimo Pallaskenry to beat Monaleen in the other game, tis they would be promoted. And you would have Monaleen, Ballybrown, and Drummond Atlaka, all on 6 points.
Yeah,
with
so
scoring difference coming into play.
Yeah, I suppose the certainties we know, if Ballybrown win, they win the group.
Yes.
If Monaleen win, they will be in a quarter final.
Yes.
They may also win the group, but they will be guaranteed a quarter final if they win. If they draw as well, actually, they'll do the same as well. A win or draw from Monaleen will put them into the knockouts, and could be the first time. It's the first time in my memory anyway that they would have been in the knockout stages of this champ. Well, since it's gone to 12 anyway. Yeah. Kildimo Pallaskenry, Matt, that point that they let drop maybe against South Liberties, could it come back to haunt them? Maybe it doesn't make an awful lot of difference because you're going out to win the match anyway. But you know, to be on 5 when your two other teams are on 6, you know, I suppose it's futile anyway unless they beat Monaleen. But you know, if Monaleen have a little bit of an inch on them ahead of this one anyway on the table, so they'll be seeding maybe that they're. Someone pointed out to me today that their 2 Thursday performances against South Liberties and Ballybrown were quite poor, while their two Friday performances, I think against Adair and against who's the other team, Drummond Atlaka, they're a Friday team. So I wonder how they can they do it on a Sunday, you know? So they were a bit better on the Fridays than the Thursdays.
I'm not into those type of omens, Tom, but that's a point, I suppose. But you know, Kyle Hayes picked up an injury the last day. Yeah, a lot will depend on whether whether Kyle Hayes will be available or not. You know, it'll be a massive blow to Kildimo Pallaskenry if he's not, you know, and that goes without saying, of course. Why should I be saying it? Because it's the obvious. And I've seen Monaleen, you know, a couple of times. I'm hugely impressed by him. And they seem to be getting better all the time. We got a fair insight last week, I think, of what Monaleen are all about when we had Owen Brislane in here. Yeah. Their manager, you know.
Very young team, but
and like the job he's done with him is just simply phenomenal. And what you know, the point I made to him, like about young players holding down key positions, you know, and holding them down like the veterans. I'm talking about Darragh Langan now at centre back, you know. Yeah, but you know, I'll qualify it by saying like that he has 2 fantastic hurlers in the Lyons brothers beside him, Larkin and Ronan, you know. Yeah. And but Matthew Fitzgerald, Joe Fitzgerald, Dara Ferland, like Tom, they're some of the most exciting young players in the county. I thought Andrew Latouche Cosgrave had a fantastic game against Drummond Atlaka. He was playing at centre forward. They're still without Marco Dwyer. And what about Donegal Dolly? You know?
Yeah, it was a 2-11 in the last 2 rounds. Yeah.
Drummond Atlaka deliberately set out to stop him fairly and squarely and couldn't do it. He got to go on 4 points. You got to go on 7 against a goal and 7. Oh, this is all from play against the Dare. Yeah,
it's they've a very young, and I think what I like about Monaleen, if you look at the makeup of their team, there's no and Donegal Dolly is a star in his own right, but there's no like one player that you'd say if they were without that they're going to really struggle. And I know I'm not saying Kildimo Pallaskenry will struggle without Kyle Hayes, but he's such a big piece of the puzzle for them, you know. Whereas Monaleen,
but then, you know, you can say about Donegal Dolly and Monaleen. I would say the same about Larkin Lyons.
Oh, but that's what I mean. They have a number of players at a very good level. That
you know, Owen Brislane is so lucky to have a leader now. Luke Murphy is the captain and again leads very well. Yeah, you know, but Larkin is such a leader on a hurling field. You know, it's just, you know.
They have very few senior players, as in like, you know, guys. I don't know if they have anyone really beyond their 30th birthday. Even Andrew Latouche Cosgrove is only, I think, 27, maybe 26, 27. He's not, you know, by any means like a very, very old player, as it were, in the team. Like
but
such a young cohort of talent.
Yeah, you must remember that Andrew has been dogged by injuries.
Yes, certainly.
You know, like what Andrew has been through has been just simply phenomenal. You know what courage he has shown. You know, to be back where he is. I thought he played extremely well against Drummond, very, very well.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you for predictions, Matt, on these three. Now, the other three, I'll get them off you and we'll have them up on our social media. But just on these three games, because obviously they're sorry, we'll come to the relegation game first. Apologies, I've nearly omitted it there altogether. The relegation game, I'm calling it that. It's not officially, of course, a relegation final, but a bit like last year, it so happened that the bottom two teams are meeting each other. Now,
it's exactly the same as last year.
Yeah,
they were a point behind going in, and they came out of it,
Yeah, so Adair with one win, that was over Ballybrown last time out, and South Liberties with one draw, that was over against Kildare and Pallaskenry last time out. So the form line starting to come up for the two of them, but for one of them, it's going to be a flat line, and it's going to be a downward facing one this weekend. So Adair and South Liberties,
it is coming up possibly more for Adair
right
at this stage, because obviously against Ballybrown they found. The form that I thought they was capable of, I saw them against Monaleen, and they were overwhelmed for a finish. They were beaten by 7 points.
Yeah.
John Fitzgibbon got a goal from a penalty with the last puck. And Monaleen were not flattered by certainly not by a 7, and wouldn't have be by a 10 point. But they just didn't seem to be clicking. And Declan Hannon. I thought he was fantastic that night. He got a goal at each side of half time. He was, and he's certainly present for the want of leadership. Now, I would say that Willie Griffin is an awful loss.
Yes, yeah.
That's something that's forgotten. But I'm going for Adair to win this, because I think they will have turned the corner. There must be a lot of head scratching. They have a high-powered management team. You have Louis Mulqueen there as manager. You have Mark Foley and Shane Fitzgibbon in with him.
Yeah.
I'd say they were at their wits' end to try and figure out where it was going wrong. Because as I said, the team sheet. What happened out in the field did not reflect what was on the team sheet. Because there's quality. There's quality all over the pitch there. But they were just not producing it.
What I'd say in this game, Matt, is, the experience that South Liberties got last year, I'm not sure it counts for very much here. They haven't kicked on or haven't shown, I suppose, a greater, I suppose, quality in this year's championship. It's kind of been much the same. And that's the worry there. I think their scoring power. I'm looking at the charts here, the table. Now, they've conceded a lot as well, but they've scored 93 points between goals and points. South Liberties have scored 71. That's a big differential. Now, they have conceded slightly more than South Liberties, but they've both conceded a shed load, as it were. But I think their scoring power is there now. Declan Hannon is back on the freeze. He's chipping in from play. John Fitzgibbon, always good for a couple of scores.
Always.
They've players they're starting to find goals. I think was it 3 goals against Monaleen and 3 again the last day. And South Liberties, they got 7 goals in the game last year. They know the value of goals in these games. They're huge fill-ups.
We can but mention Wayne Mack. What a warrior.
Yeah. He played 40 minutes at midfield against Ballybrown, and when he left the field, I think they were maybe 7 or 8 points up. They kind of had the game won. I know they didn't officially, but they were well on their way when they decided, right, we needed fresh legs here. But he's a fair soldier. I think it's fair to say for Adair.
Absolutely.
It's as we said before in this podcast, it's never great to see anyone relegated. I think South Liberties have been at the senior grade since, I think they won the intermediate in 2009. So they've been up 15 seasons now. Obviously, Adair
won the Munster Championship that year.
Yeah, and Adair in the same year, was it? I'm not sure which of the 3 in a row. Was it the second year or the third year? The 3 in a row. I think it was the third year, wasn't it?
Third year actually.
Yeah. So in 15 years, okay, it is 15 years is a chunk of time, but things can come to an end and come down, and obviously one of them is going to be heading down. I don't know if Adair have ever been outside the senior grade. I don't recall them ever being met. I've only ever known them to be, one of the aristocrats.
I'm likewise. I don't. They may have been, but I don't remember it, or it didn't happen.
No, that's it exactly. I think certainly in the last few decades, I suppose that when it was divisional system, they were obviously one of the leading sides on the west side of things, and then when it became all county, We've known them even in the early 2000s contesting county finals and being thereabouts for many seasons. But the decline is, I think, 2017 was the last time they were in the knockout stages. They hadn't. It's not a surprise maybe that they're not winning a lot of games. Maybe it's a surprise that they're in relegation trouble, but it hasn't. It's not.
The quality is in the team still.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it is.
Form is temporary, class is permanent.
Yeah. Look, we'll see. So you're leaning there for.
I'm leaning for a dare, but a health warning for a dare. I leaned for Gareth's plan at the same time last year.
Right. Can you give me a figure on that? I'll give you mine and John Kyo's as well.
I'm going for a dare by 5.
A dare by 5, okay. And I've said a dare by 6, and John has said a dare by 5 as well. So they were already in the can here. They were already written down before you said that, Matt. The other games, Ballybrown and Drummond at Lacca. I'm seeing this one, Ballybrown, just about, I think, by a point. John has said Ballybrown by 2. How do you see it?
Ballybrown by 3.
Ballybrown by 3, okay. And the other game in that group sees Monaleen and Killaloe Pallaskenry. John has said Monaleen by 5. I have said Monaleen will just squeeze it by 2. And
I'm saying Monaleen by 4.
Okay, we'll all be very right or very wrong, so because we're all leaning with the same 3 teams. But nevertheless, a very exciting Super Sunday for those 6 clubs in the Senior B. So 2 will be in the quarterfinals, 1 will be relegated, and the other 3 may be left scratching their heads as to what just about went wrong in 2024. Okay, Matt, Camogie, I think, is next on our busy agenda this week.
It is, and we're down to the semi-final stages now. We don't have A and B in the Camogie. We have the cup and plate.
Yes.
So, Rough and Newcastle West finished top of the respective groups with full points. And Newcastle West will play Napiershik in the semi-final. Napiershik, who won 2 games out of the 3, and Bruff will play a Han, who, like Napiershik, won 2 out of the
Newcastle West will play a Han. Oh, sorry, Bruff will play a Han. Sorry,
Bruff will play a Han.
I'm correcting myself wrongly. Bruff and a Han, yeah.
We were drinking last night, Tom. I don't know.
But Bruff on 100% and a Han. Yeah. I think the 2 wins themselves.
2 wins, yeah. So, you can't argue, but the 4 best teams are through to the cup. So you have a situation in the plate then where, let me think, what way is it in the plate now?
Killaloe are facing Corcora and Monaleen.
Killaloe are facing Killaloe and Monaleen and Adair.
Yeah. So have we dates for these, Matt? I hadn't seen a date.
No, I haven't fixtures. I hope we'll have them before the weekend, maybe. Yeah. But, it's a bit surprising. We're going to have we're going to have 1 new county finalist at least, because Killaloe, have fallen through us. We didn't predict that it would be Killaloe, but we predicted one of the big 3, Newcastle West, Han and Killaloe, were going to miss out on the cup and drop down into the plate. And unfortunately, from Killaloe point of view, they only picked up 1 point. They lost to a Han, they lost to Newcastle West, and they drew with Adair.
Yeah, you probably can't argue with that. They just didn't do enough themselves to reach it. Yeah.
They will know themselves, but they will seek consolation like in B. But B is going to be far from a gimme for anybody.
Well, are the losers of the plate semi-finals, I think, are heading for relegation final, then will be right?
They are heading for the relegation final, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot on the line there in those semi-finals.
There is a lot in line in those semi-finals, plus the fact of trying to get to the final and get the B championship. And you have Adair who were very, very poor against Newcastle West in the first round, then drew with Killaloe in the second round and had a decent game with a Han before they were beaten. So you'd be expecting a Han or Adair having won the Munster Championship 2 years ago, Munster Clubs Championship, and the County Intermediate Championship. That this might be the year for them to drive on. And of course, they have a couple of very big players in Caoimhe Costello and Sophie O'Callaghan, to lead them. And there's a lot of young players there, like the Mullinses and Poppy Giltinan and Cara Griffin, and they have an awful lot of very good young players. So they will be seeing it as the next step, But they certainly will be made work by Monaleen, who were last year's intermediate champions.
Yeah,
And they too have a fair lot of exciting players, the like of Cueva Lyons, L.A. Hessin, who scored for Limerick Juniors for fun during the spring. You've Aoife Nelligan, you've Ellie Madden, there's a lot of them there, so it'll be a very interesting B competition. If we just flip down to intermediate for the moment, and you have Croke Kilfinney there taking on Temple Lanton, which would be an interesting game. And in the other one, you have Croke Kilfinney. What's it? Croke Kilfinney. You have
Croke Kilfinney and Temple Lanton
and
Patrick
Ballingarry.
Yeah.
Patrick Swelling, Brenna Ballingarry. Now Galway are through to the final of the Cappamore got a bye to the final of the plate because there was only 3 teams in that group.
Yeah.
And the semi-final is between my head.
Galway and Maroobohr.
Galway and Maroobohr.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll wait on fixtures of those, Matt. We
can have a look at it in greater depth because I expect that the semi-finals will be on the weekend after next time.
Okay, very good. Yeah, well, thanks for that update. One thing I think I have omitted thus far, we just going to come back to hurling now because we had a couple of minor, I say minor, we've other items as well. Just to mention quickly, Matt, the Premier Intermediate as well. That goes into its is it 6th
penultimate round, with the exception of Glenroe and Na Piarsaigh. And if Glenroe and Na Piarsaigh are beaten this weekend, they will face off on the following Friday evening for what will be a relegation, a winner take all as far as relegation is concerned, before going into the final round in early October. And I was out, Tom, I should mention, and congratulations to Kildimo Palace Kenry, who won the minor A championship in McNeville Park on Sunday, and sunbaked in McNeville Park on Sunday, actually. It was a lovely, lovely day for hurling. Glenquin Gales, who were drawn from Monagay, Tournafulla and Killeedy, had the better of the opening exchanges maybe for 20 minutes, but slowly but surely, Kildimo Palace Kenry got into the game. Robert O'Farrell was outstanding. He scored a goal and 10 points. Sean Cavan, I thought, was very, very good at midfield. Ross Allen, they had some very, very good players. And now Glenquin Gales were hit 5 minutes before halftime when one of their defenders saw red, a straight red, and at that stage they were trailing by about 5 points, I think. So it had morphed into being 6 at halftime, and really, apart from maybe a 2 or 3 minute, 4 minute spell in the second half, did they ever look like retrieving the game? And Kildimo Palace Kenry's 2-1-17 to 9 points victory.
Very good, yeah. And finally, I think, Matt, the Masters, they were in action against Wexford, but tough day at the office, I think it's fair to say, for the lads there.
Yeah, tough day at the office, Tom. Just to give viewers and listeners an idea of what the Masters is all about. Like, there are 6 teams who all play each other in a round robin. The top 2 go through to the final, and the teams that are finishing 3rd and 4th go into the Shield final. Limerick to date have lost to both Cork and to Wexford, and lost heavily to Wexford in Kilmallock last Sunday. And they will now play Kildare in Clane on Sunday at 2 o'clock, on Saturday at 2 o'clock, which is a must-win game if they're to stay in contention. Because, at this stage, there are some very strong teams in it, notably Tipperary and Galway.
Yeah.
And we spoke briefly to one Brislane last week about it. You will recall who's in goals for Tipperary. And at this remove, Galway and Tipperary would be the favourites to reach the final. But there may be a shield place up for grabs. And just to give you a sense of the importance, now Kildare have suffered 2 very heavy defeats to Wexford, and they were beaten by 7-29 to 6 points by Tipperary. So it's a game that Limerick just cannot afford to lose, Tom, because their remaining games are against Tipperary away and Galway.
Yeah, yeah. This is the chance to get the points on the board and
This will
see
be the
see
chance to get some points on the board, whether it will be enough points to take him to the Shield or not, but Cork will have the head-to-head on him on that.
Yeah, yeah. But a chance to maybe get a morale boosting victory. Okay, well, we'll see. We'll see how that one goes against Kildare, and then
Yeah,
as you
but
said,
very, very interesting, Tom, of the Wexford team that played in Kilmallock last Sunday. There were 8 of them, I think, actively playing senior and intermediate club hurling in Wexford.
right, okay. I don't know what that says about the Wexford Senior Hurling Championship, but it says something anyway. And they're indeed willing to tag out for the Masters. Okay, Matt, I think we've covered it all, or we've tried to cover it all as we always do. Unless you have anything else to note on this week.
No.
No, all out.
Roll on the games at the
all out.
weekend.
Yeah, yeah, and as we said at the start, do check with your club or indeed with your McGA for the official fixtures, because as we know, venues changing by the minute, it seems like, across the board. So don't take our word for it. You're going to have to check elsewhere before travelling, and then do indeed enjoy the games. And as we always say, if you have predictions to match ours or to beat ours on those senior games, do let us know. And if you're tuning in from abroad, don't be afraid to drop whereabouts in the comments. All right, Matt, thanks a million. We'll chat to you again soon.